Heidi-ho, everyone, I am Nathan Blake, and welcome back to the Weekend Review.
But Nathan, I thought it's Monday, then that means it can't be the weekend, and therefore it can't be the Weekend Review.
Shut up, Kevin! Nobody asked you. Nobody cares what you think, Kevin. Go home! Go back home! Shoo! Get! Hello, and welcome to the Weekend Review. I'm here this week to talk about Zero Escape, the Nonary Games. Now, quick disclaimer here, just right quick. These games are fairly mature for games that appeared on the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo 3DS. So, pay attention to those ESRBs, boys! So yeah, they do contain some rather strong violence, rather strong violence and some rather strong language. So, just bear that in mind going forward. Now that we've got the disclaimers out of the way, we can go ahead and start. So, specifically, I'm going to be talking about Zero Escape, the Nonary Games, which is actually the port from the original 999, 9 hours, 9 doors, 9 people. Man, this is really confusing already. You need a chart, really. So anyway, there's a game on the original DS called 9 People, 9 Hours, 9 Doors. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. It's got a real good ring to it. So anyway, they took that game and its sequel, Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward, which was on the 3DS, and they put them together into one easily consumable package called Zero Escape the Nonary Games, and put that onto the PS4, the PC, and the PlayStation Vita. So now you've got like all these different places that you can find these games. So that's super helpful if you're interested in playing any of these now. Basically though, what the Nonary Games are, if you really cut to the chase, get through all the red tape, is that they are escape the room puzzle games. It's the words that I am looking for. And those puzzles are broken up by these very, very story driven, narrative-filled visual novel segments that can sometimes be very, very long and very, very full of story. So basically, these games are a little bit of an acquired taste, but if you can get into them, they are insanely interesting, and there's a lot going on in them, and they're very compelling. One of the main features of these games that is very different than your normal escape the room, point-and-click sort of thing, is that there are multiple endings. And by multiple endings, I mean I count almost 40 multiple endings between the first and second game. It is crazy how many endings there are to this game. And what else it does that really helps with that is really neat, that is different than a lot of games, is it has an actual flow chart of what endings you've achieved and which ones you still need to get. And those are actually accessible. You can actually click on them and it'll actually send you to that part of the story up to the point that you've progressed in the story up to that point. Wow, that was a confusing sentence. You could basically pick to start at any point you have been to before in the story and make different choices from there using this neat flowchart. It is super cool because most games with multiple endings will require you to replay the game repeatedly, or, just have one save file near the end where you just make one of 3 or 4 choices or something like that. But this game actually cuts through all of that red tape by allowing you to jump straight to whatever the last point in the story was that you actually accessed on that storyline. So the story branches off in one of, literally 15 different ways, and so whenever you finish whatever story you happen to be on, you can just jump back up to where the branch happened, where the fork in the road was, and make the other decision, and then follow that one down for a couple of hours, and I do mean for a couple of hours. So, basically, these games are really, really neat, really, really interesting games, because what they do is they're filled with interesting characters. And they all have completely unique personalities, very, very unique personalities, very unique backstories, reasons why they're around, all of those things, and you really get to learn a lot about them as you go through the game. But what else you get is that all of their stories actually end up, having similarities or being tied to somebody else's story in some way or another, or there's a real reason why they are present for what's going on for the games. now that I mentioned games, I should probably actually mention what exactly is going on in here. Now, without getting into any spoilers, because you can find this out by any cursory search onto any front page of Steam or, the back cover of the game cases or whatever, however you read about games nowadays, and you will see this. But basically, you are one of 10 people. No, I'm sorry, not 10 people. That would be strange if it was 9 persons, 9 hours, 9 doors, and you were one of 10 people. You are basically one of 9 people who have been kidnapped, for lack of a better word, and placed into these terrifying death games in which you have to solve puzzles in order to survive. On the surface, it seems like a pretty simple premise. Survive by solving puzzles. Don't die. But these things are actually pretty difficult whenever it comes down to it, because there are people you can't trust, there are people that are fighting against you as you go through here, and there are always bad choices to make that will probably get you and everyone you love killed. So, that being said, it's not just about the death games, and it's not just about the puzzles that you're solving. It is about a huge overarching story that somehow ties in, and even the tiny little minute endings, the ones where you just died earlier than you should have or whatever, will oftentimes sprinkle in a couple of details that help you tie together the narrative and try to learn what's actually going on. And that's really, really unique for this type of game, for pretty much every single ending, including all the ones where you die horribly, to give you some amount of information about what's happening in the world. What it comes down to, what these games really are at their heart, is a murder mystery. It's about trying to track down who the killer is and what's going on and what his motive was and why he did it and all of those things. And that's one of the reasons it's really interesting, especially if you love puzzles, because not only is the game filled to the brim with interesting puzzles of different types that you have to solve to escape the rooms, but they are also, the game itself is a puzzle. You are learning about what's going on as you go through, piecing together tidbits of information, and almost every single word that people say is important. And so it's an extremely interesting experience, because you start these games and you're trying to solve these puzzles, and then you realize you are solving a much larger puzzle and that you're learning more about these characters and piecing them together and figuring out what's going on. And that's why these games are awesome. That's why they're worth the time. That's why they're worth the effort, and that's why they're worth, slogging through the visual novel aspects and the strong language and all of that jazz. It's because they are filled with character. Really interesting character, and sometimes really insane, weird character, but they are filled with character. They are full of narrative, and they are full of good, enjoyable storytelling. Now, some of it's terrible, terrifying storytelling as well, but I believe that there's a place for that as well, because it makes the story compelling, it makes it interesting, it makes you care about what's happening. And it's not just a weird Saw sort of thing where you're trying to watch people die in horrible ways or anything like that. It's about trying to figure out how to beat the game and how to learn why this happened in the first place and solve the mystery, and in doing so solve not only the smaller puzzles that you go through, but the big puzzle, the big mystery. What's going on? Why is it happening? I played the 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors a few months back, finished it up, and I actually moved into Virtue's Last Reward immediately, and I was actually a little turned off right at first, because there was some definite difference in art style and in direction that they were going with the story. It seemed almost more cutesy, which seems weird for a puzzle game about everyone dying horribly. So it seemed like a very strange thing, so I actually had to step back, and then a couple days ago I picked it back up and started Virtue's Last Reward, and I have been really enjoying it, playing it almost nonstop since then. And I was actually going to do a completely different review, which is why this review didn't come out yesterday, is because I was planning on doing a review on Ni no Kuni, which I'm still going to do, but I got sidetracked playing this. And it's really hard to get excited and talk about and review a game that you're, kind of excited about whenever you're really excited about something else over here. So, that being said, if you get into these games, if you start playing them and you really like them, it's likely the kind of game that you won't put down and that you'll love and you'll keep going and going and going. And that's weird for me, actually. I know I mentioned it before in my Persona review and in a couple of other things, but I don't usually play games for the completion. I usually just play for fun. But the fun of this game is the story. And there's no fun in the story if it doesn't get tied up, if you don't learn what's going on. Also, I love a good mystery. Who doesn't? All of that to say that these are extremely interesting games, extremely fun. The artwork is generally spot on and fantastic, and I really think that it's worth playing if you have access to it, especially. And let's face it, who doesn't have access to a Nintendo DS, a 3DS, a PS Vita, a PS4, and or a PC? Because that's what consoles these games are on, which means you pretty much have access to them unless you live under a rock. And wait, how are you watching this video if you don't have access to a PC? Well, there are the people who watch on their phones or their tablets or on their televisions. That's true. But shut up, I don't care what you think. So anyway, that's about all I have to say this weekend review. If you have any specific questions about the games or you want me to talk about any other games in the coming weeks, let me know down in the comments below. If there's a game that you want me to review, tell me what you want me to review and give me a couple weeks because I am going to have to play it some. And then I'll go for it. I'll run with it. So that's pretty much where we're going to end this week on the weekend review. And I thank you so much for being here. I thank you for being a part of this adventure with me. I know we kind of went fast, but I'm kind of tired, and so I just had to get pumped up and just do it. Woo! Woo! Because otherwise I wasn't going to. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, being a part of this adventure with me, and for now, this is Nathan Blake, and as always, we will see you in the next one. Sayonara! Hey everyone, it's Nathan. Thanks for watching. This has been the Weekend Review. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it in the future, please like and comment below. If you're new to the channel and you would like to be notified of new videos, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Like my channel? Want to see it grow? Share this video with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks again, everyone. Sayonara!